Hi everyone, Janette with Equity Real Estate in the beautiful state of Utah. Flipped home is one where usually an investor comes in and has a hard money loan, so he needs to get in and get out so he can get his return on his investment. And oftentimes these investors are not pulling permits, and so they're not using licensed contractors. And how do you know if they are or they aren't? You can ask them. You can actually go to the city to see if they're pulling permits for this home. Now, as buyers, we have a little bit more time to do some due diligence, don't we? Things are slowing down in the market, so we're seeing buyers having a grace period of a week to get the due diligence done, to get the inspections done, to do a little homework on it. So we want to see if this is a flipped home, we want to see if they're pulling permits. We should be very concerned if we have some electrical work done in a house and they're not a licensed contractor. I have seen electrical work where you couldn't run the microwave and the garbage disposal at the same time because they're not on separate circuits. And that is a big concern because we don't know what it looks like behind those walls. Or I'm not an electrician, so I can look at the panel and go, oh yeah, this is a really outdated panel. But I don't know what's going on behind there. So we can do a little due diligence prior to going under contract by just doing a couple of tests in this home. One thing if it's a flipped home or not is everything is new on the inside, or most of the things are new. But on the outside of the house, the landscaping might be dying because the water's been turned off because it's a distressed property. A lot of times these investors are buying distressed properties because that's where their return is going to be. So these distressed properties are probably sitting on the market. They may not be in a good area. They might be in a foreclosure. So they've been vacant a long time. And oftentimes these investors are not getting inspections. They're doing a sight unseen. They may not have a history. They're not living in the property, so they don't know what the property, how it functions. Is there issues to that? When you see a house on the market that says sold as is, it's kind of a misunderstanding. That doesn't mean that they're not going to disclose about the property. It actually means that they're not going to fix anything with the property. If an investor hasn't lived in the property, his disclosures, and they have to provide a disclosure, even though they can say, I don't know, they still have to provide that disclosure to you. You want somebody who knows about the property. Oftentimes they'll say, kitchen was updated. Okay, well, what did you do? So there's got to be some time for some homework to ask that investor these questions. What did they do? Who did they use? Can you call the licensed contractor that did the electrical work or the foundation work? So these are good questions to ask. And so you want to be a little bit leery if you go in to a home and you go in there and everything looks so good. And I know buyers, when you get in there and you see it's all nice and bright and clean and smells good because everything in the house is new, but you're not looking at the details. And most of the time these houses are staged, right? So they look beautiful. You love the furnishings, the interior design that's being done. And so if you hire a good real estate agent, hopefully that this had some experience looking at flip properties, they're going to be looking at the details. They're going to be seeing, okay, do the baseboards meet the floor? Is the floor uneven? I once went into a house that I was like, did I just walk downhill? I think I just walked downhill. So we got out a level light, and sure enough, there was a lot of room between one side and the other. And we went down into this crawl space. It was an old home, so the crawl space had the furnace down there. I want to call it a crawl space, but it was more like a dungeon. And we went down there and we shined our cell phone lights down there, and we looked in this one corner, and there was bricks, mason bricks, stacked on top of each other in this weird thing, holding up a corner of the house. We didn't buy that house. We actually just said, like, we're done. It's this is not a good safe house. Another thing I want to talk to you about is painted kitchen cabinetry. Oftentimes you'll see a listing that says updated kitchen. Well, what does that mean? Well, it could mean that they got new countertops. And if they got new countertops, what did they do with the cabinetry? Well, it might not be new. It might be painted. So if you have a homeowner or an investor that has an updated kitchen, check the kitchen cabinets to see if they've been painted. Oftentimes they're just painted, and you know that in time that paint is going to wear off. How do you tell if that cabinetry has been painted? Oftentimes if you open the cabinet door, they'll paint the inside of the cabinet door, but oftentimes they don't paint the inside of the drawers. That they don't take the drawer panel off at the front, and so they're not painting on the inside. So that is a really good way. Now if you see new cabinets in a flipped home, that these cabinets come from a big box store, and so they're not quality cabinets. They're not custom cabinetry. They may not even be builder grade cabinetry. So that to look underneath the cabinet, the top cabinets, to look underneath and see if that's the same color as the outside. Oftentimes painted, or if you go to a big box store and you order white cabinetry, the bottoms of that will be raw and they'll be pressboard material. So that's a good way to see what kind of quality that investor has, or the flip has been putting in the home, is a quality materials. So one more story before we finish this video. I took this gal through a home, and immediately she's looking, at all the nice stuff and the new stuff. I'm looking at the quality workmanship of the floor. And it's a laminate floor, and that laminate floor had some gaps. They weren't huge gaps, but there were some gaps where laminate floor snaps together, and that needs to be tight. And laminate flooring is a floating floor, so it's not going to be pushed against the walls, right? It's not going to be anchored to the walls. It's a floating floor, but that snap has to be tight in order for it not to come apart. Well, there are already gaps, so after time and that scooting, because of people walking, especially in those walk areas, that laminate floor is going to come apart. So that was like, okay, write that down. So we go downstairs, and there's a washroom or laundry room bathroom combination. It was very nicely done. However, I'm like, why is this floor seem a little rippled? Well, what they had done is tiled over tile. And I just really think that's a no-no. We don't know what's under there, and I don't know why they didn't pull it off. Why didn't they remove the tile there? Was it because it was just too much work, too much expense, or was there a problem? So as this video, I don't want this to scare you, and I'm not bashing investors, people who flip properties. But this is more for the buyer beware type of video, just so you know, and you can be cautious when you go in to look at a flipped home. Make sure that you're taking an experienced agent who's not going to be looking at the furniture, the paint colors. They're going to be looking at the details that you don't see. And the reason for this is you don't want to go under contract. You don't want to pay an inspector for things that you can see yourself. So I hope this video helps you determine whether or not a flipped property is the route you want to go. So happy watching. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you on the next video.